Hey guys, AscendantGod here with Raid Shadow Legends, doing a champion spotlight here on Harvest Jack. So this is after Torment and after the cast order fix with Harvest Jack's A3 and A2. So he now uses his A3 before his A2, making him substantially more valuable. All right, now to start, Harvest Jack is a legendary. He's undead, green affinity, hit point champion type. So he scales off of hit points. So currently he is one of the best champions for arena compositions. All right, the coming of Torment to arena and the meta change substantially increased Jack's value. All right, the meta used to be to just go with speed and be as fast as possible, burn the enemy down. I mean, if you want to see like the speed meta and how that works, you can look at my prior videos of arena speed compositions. 4 to 6 second wins typically, real quick, real easy, but not fun. I feel like resistance and defense compositions are a lot more fun to play with. And now with Torment making resist, defense, and other auras viable, Jack is one that you'll see a lot in platinum compositions. Let me show you here why he is so great. All right, now we're going to assume that you're using him at max skills, as we do with all champions that I do a spotlight on. So with that said, his A3 here, Lord of Terror, is amazing. At max skills, it has a 100% chance to place True Fear on all enemies. All right, and then it also places a 30% decreased speed and decreases all enemy turn meters by 15% if that True Fear is placed. All right, so this is assuming that it's not resisted. Now, in case all that wasn't enough, if the enemy happens to resist True Fear, then he even has this extra backup here, you know, so that you can also put them to sleep. So it's just amazing. I mean, most champions, you get resisted, that's it, nothing happens. Jack here has an amazing primary debuff, but even if that gets resisted, he then tries to put you to sleep. So that's just, oh wow, this is his strongest asset here, is his A3. All right, now the True Fear itself is very hit or miss though. It basically gives you a 50% chance to put the enemy's skills on cooldown. So when it triggers, this is amazing. If you see it trigger on enemies that are healers or resurrectors, like say Gorgorath, Arbiter, Molly, you don't have to worry about them being able to resurrect or heal for quite a while. All right, and the only downside is that one, there is also a 50% chance that True Fear will do nothing and then the enemy comes at you full force. 2, if the True Fear does trigger, it can be hard in long encounters to keep track of exactly how many more turns you have before that particular champion's cooldown skills are ready and they pose a threat again. So regardless of that though, with the ability to put half the enemy skills cooldowns on average, it's amazing. And then on top of that, the decreased speed and a turn meter reduction, it's just an extremely powerful debuff. I think this A3 is one of the most powerful debuffs in the game. One of, definitely not the most, but one of the top. All right, now his A3 works in conjunction here with his A2 because this A3 is what he does cast first. So you slow the enemy down, reduce their turn meters, and then that substantially increases your chance to cast this A2 before the enemy gets a turn. The reason you want that to happen is because if the enemy still has that True Fear on him when they cast this A2, he then places a block buffs debuff on the enemy. Blocking buffs can be amazing as well. This means no unkillable, no block damage, no counterattacks, nothing. All right. So it's great when this A2 lands on the enemy before the True Fear falls off. It just cripples the enemy. And on top of that, if the enemy has increased attack, then it changes that to decrease attack. If they have continuous heals, it turns them to poisons. So depending on the circumstances, this ability can do some really amazing things to the enemy here. All right, with my resist composition in arena, there are times where I will easily have 6 to 7 debuffs up on each enemy, and a lot of them coming from Jack here. All right, the only drawback to this A2 here is that if True Fear fell off the enemy and they don't have the increased attack or continuous heals, this attack does not hit very hard at all in and of itself, and that's all that it does. It's just a little bit of damage. It's the abilities that make this one so great though. All right, moving along. Is A1 here. This skill is amazing as well. At max skills, it has 3 hits that each give you a 35% chance each to steal a random buff from the target. So say if you have an enemy that has unkillable or block damage, you could actually have Jack steal that buff. All right, at max skills, there's a pretty good chance you're going to steal it. And then even if you do steal a buff from them, it places fear on them, and it has a 100% chance to do it if you've stolen all buffs on them, which is just amazing as well. And if they have no buffs, then you have 35% chances to place fear on them. So no matter what, this A1 has something they can do to every enemy. Stealing buffs is my favorite, but the fear is also great. And you can see I'm just one shy of the extra 35%, but he's my champion currently that I'm trying to max out with legendary tomes, excuse me. Now, in case all that wasn't good enough, he has a passive too. This passive here makes it so that when an enemy attacks, the duration of all their buffs decrease by 1 turn. So say there's a lot of buffs up on the enemy, you can't steal all of them. This passive here makes it so that it reduces the buffs each time that you're hit. So this is another way to get rid of buffs on the enemy. So Jack overall is just basically an amazing anti-buff champion more than anything. I mean, the enemies just can't keep those buffs up with him. I mean, you can steal them, you can reduce the turn of them, you can put block buffs up so they don't even happen to begin with. And I mean, he could even use the buffs against them with this A1 here where you can steal them. So it's just the A3 though is brutal. I mean, his A3 is absolutely here his strongest thing that he does between the true fears, decreased speed, and then on top of that decreasing turn meters. And then if that does get resisted, you have a chance to do sleep. So there's just so much this one can do, and it's just amazing. All right, so since he's a hit point based champion as well, so you notice all of his damage here scales off of hit points, so you don't have to worry about attack on him at all. You just load him up with a modest amount of hit points. All right, now as far as stat priorities, this all depends on what your goals are with him. I mean, I feel his greatest asset is on a resistance or defense composition in arena. So for that, you want to give him a lot of accuracy. For platinum, you want at least 350 up to 450. So you see right now, I have him at almost 430 here. Now, platinum has crazy amounts of resistance at times though, and Jack's strongest asset is his abilities, not his damage. So as such, accuracy should be your priority initially. All right, it's also good to load him up with at least some modest resistance if you don't have a champion for debuff removal, because you do not want to lose control of him in arena. All right, now keep in mind that I'm using an aura with 90 resist on it as well from Rosin Scarhide. So for my Jack's stats here, add an extra 92 as resistance, and that's what I run with him in arena. And he can handle platinum the way he's built right now, although it's still a work in progress. But yeah, he doesn't hit nearly as hard as, you know, some champions can, but he makes up for it with his abilities here. So once you get the accuracy and resistance up to a modest level, then you want to get his crit rate up to 100% here, and then load him up with as much crit damage as you can from there on out. All right, and then he doesn't, you know, again, his damage is modest, but once you get the accuracy and resistance where it needs to be, give him some modest hit points. The only thing left at that point is to just load him up with a bunch of crit damage and crit rate, because then he will hit fairly hard. He just doesn't scale as well as some other champions do. All right, so basically from there on out, we're going to look at the masteries here. Now moving on to the masteries for arena, like I said, I built him for a resistance composition. So as such, I went the defense and support trees. All right, let me show you why. The defense tree here gives you some really important abilities. To start, you want as much resistance as you can get, so you always want to go with the resist over the defense at the top tier here. All right, with enough hit points, you won't have to worry about him getting defense for survival anyway. So survival isn't going to usually be an issue for him. Now, you want to get improved parry. As with most enemies in arena, they'll have a lot of crit rate, usually close to or 100%. So you'll most likely be taking critical hits, at least in gold and platinum. So this is almost a guaranteed 8% reduction. So you definitely want to get it. Resurgent is also extremely important here. All right, this is a great ability. What's great about this is that if you do end up taking a huge hit in the fight, Resurgent here gives you a 50% chance to remove it. All right. If you get any kind of buffs, I should say, debuffs on you, or correction. All right, now, Wisdom of Battle. Okay, until I started running into Tormund regularly in arena, I had no idea how valuable this was. Each time you're frozen, stunned, or put to sleep, it has a 30% chance to block debuffs for a turn after it falls off. This is great against Tormund, and you'll see your allies frequently getting blocked buffs against him. All right. Now, Deterrence is also great against Tormund. because every time he freezes somebody, this is the chance to counterattack, and so that's also really good. And then Cycle of Revenge can be good, but it can also be risky, all right? Because, again, remember, the turn meter increases. That gives Torment a chance to freeze you, all right? So I feel like usually the Retribution is a better bet to go for. You're not going to lose 25% of your max hit points on him very often, but if you do, it's a chance to counterattack, and it's not risky like Cycle of Revenge that could trigger Torment to freeze you, all right? So... and I'm going to tell you right now, if you're like, oh, why are you so worried about Torment? In case you don't look at the top players section of Arena regularly, I will tell you right now that currently at least 90% of all the compositions in Platinum have Torment. So you want to do what you can to be prepared for that if you aren't already. All right, because you're going to see him a lot in the in-game content. And then last, Unshakable. In high-end Gold and Platinum, resistance becomes very important. So I feel this one is a must. All right, unless you're really desperate for accuracy, and then I would say go with accuracy. Those are the only two you really should be giving him, though, for Arena, depending on what you feel you need more. All right. For the support tree, you want to get all the masteries that increase your accuracy. So you want to get the plus 10 here. You want to get the plus 20, because this here, you're going to have that extra 20 when he has no skills on cooldown, which means the very first turn when he's going to do that True Fear, you're going to have the extra 20, which is vital, because remember, it's True Fear and slow and decreased turn meter. So you want that to land. This gives you an extra 20? Yes. Absolutely. This here, increased accuracy for each enemy alive, stacks up to 16. So in the beginning, between these three here, you're going to be getting an extra 40 accuracy. That's huge. So you absolutely want that. All right. So you want to do all those. And then after that, Evil Eye here is great as well. All right. Decreasing the turn meters. And because you want to slow the enemy down as much as possible. And then after that, Master Hexer. Master Hexer is an absolute must with Jack. This is probably the most valuable mastery that you can possibly give Jack. I mean, with all the debuffs that he does, giving him a 30% chance to extend those debuffs by a turn is just absolutely amazing. I mean, you could end up with a 2-turn True Fear on somebody, or 3 turns of decreased speed, 3 turns of block buffs. It just offers so much for Jack that this one is an absolute must for him. Sniper is nice for his A1, or if you don't have the tomes to max out, is A3. But the defense tree just has abilities that offer more, so I would pick 2 out of the 3 of these over the sniper. All right, they just offer more for him. Now, if you're positive you aren't going to use him in Arena, or if you're using him on a speed composition in Arena and you're expecting that he'll go first most of the time in your battles, then you would want to go with the support tree still here, because the Master Hexer mainly in the accuracy, but you also want to add the offense tree instead of the defense if that is the case. All right. Now, with offense, you always want to get the crit rate and crit damage. He doesn't scale off attack, so there's no point in giving him attack. But if you do choose the offense, you want to either get Helm Smasher here at the bottom or Flawless Execution. All right. Now, Helm Smasher can increase your damage more, but it's less consistent. Flawless Execution here has less damage, but it's more consistent. So it really just depends on your play style and your preference as to whether you like gambling more, get Helm Smasher. If you like consistency more, get Flawless Execution. Simple as that. So that covers all the basics as far as Jack. Note too that if you're not using him for Arena, you'll only need about 200 or so accuracy for most encounters. So you can put that into other stats instead if that's the case. Now, how to handle him in Arena. All right. Your biggest concern with him in Arena is him casting that A3 of his and getting all this out on your allies. All right. The problem with him, though, is that he's too tough. That with all the hit points that he's most likely going to have in Arena, you can see with me here, he's got like, you know, almost 60,000. All right. So yeah, with that, it's so tough to take him down. So the best bet to fight Jack in Arena is to do things to control him while you burn any resurrectors or healers down. Don't worry about killing Jack initially. Just control him with things like Daze, Freeze, Provoke, or whatever else you have. All right, so overall viability of Jack in endgame dungeons, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 screams. His kit can be good for dungeons, but I can't give him higher than 8 because of his lack of damage. So is he viable for stage 20 dungeons? Absolutely. You know, is he a top pick, though, from what's available in-game. Not for dungeons, no. I mean, only one I use him for is for Fire Knight's Castle, and his debuffs don't work against the boss. So, you know, depending on your roster, he is certainly viable for others as well, though. Now, on Clan Boss, no. Just no, he is not viable for Clan Boss. The only screams you'll get for Clan Boss is that I'll scream at you for using him on Clan Boss. Do not do it. All right? For Arena, 10 out of 10 screams. I mean, he is just amazing in Arena. Like I said, you'll see a lot of him in Platinum because of it. And again, he works amazing with resist or defense compositions where you expect the fight to last a while. All right, Faction Wars, again, 10 out of 10 blood-curdling screams. Okay, with the choices for Undead, he is definitely a top pick for Faction Wars. He can steal the buff from bosses, very difficult for enemies to kill him when he's built right, and overall just a great pick. So that covers just about everything for Jack here. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, stupid statements, leave them in the comments section below. But otherwise, that pretty much covers everything for Jack. So hope it helped you guys. And then until the next episode, guys, take care.